But all right, everybody, here's my HBCU top five as we are rolling. We are rolling as the season continues to roll on, and some teams fell out of it. Hampton was in there last week. Grambling was in there last week. I had to get them out of there. You know why? Because they took losses. Grambling, you lose to Prairie View. You had that game won. Hampton, you get blown out to William and Mary. I can't put you up there and keep you boosted up. But maybe if you win down the line,
weren't they number one? They were number one last. Wow.
Against HBCU opponents. That's what they were. They were 3-1 against the HBCUs, and this is our HBCU power ranking. But so I had to roll with it. Tennessee State, welcome to the top five, Tennessee State. Coach Eddie George has them going at 3-2. They're 1-1, getting the victory over Charleston Southern last week. I boosted them up. If they can get past Lindenwood, they'll be 4-2 and 2-1 in conference play over in the Ohio Valley Conference. So they've made it into my top five. Welcome to Tennessee State. Jackson State getting that blowout victory against Texas Southern, shaking back after that road loss at Grambling last week. I put Jackson State there. It was the way they did it. It was convincing. They looked good, and that's what it's all about. How you get the dub, and they look good with Jacoby and Morgan and company. Jackson State on the road at Texas Southern, which Texas Southern I thought was going to be a lot better team than what they showed against Jackson State. Jackson State now 3-2 on the season, 1-0 in the SWAC East, and I think Tiger fans will be happy to see that they are 1-0 and that Grambling game didn't have them 1-1. Let's go to South Carolina State. South Carolina State and what they did to North Carolina A&T continue. What he said on Coming to America, it's a shame what they did to that damn dog.
It's a shame. It's a
shame what South Carolina State did to North Carolina A&T. And Chennis Berry has the Bulldogs looking good right now. They're scoring points. And that's what everybody wants to see. Can South Carolina State continue to be consistent at scoring points? They're 2-2 right now on the season. FAMU at number 2. FAMU hasn't won a game since August 31st. And I know it's not their fault, right? Because, Scotty, you talk about scheduling. They had North Carolina. They had Miami. Then they had Troy. So I understand it in their game this past week. And hats off and prayers to everybody over in Tallahassee and in the state of Florida who was affected by the hurricane. Their game against Alabama A&M at home was postponed and moved into November. So right now, considering they beat South Carolina State, who's the number 3 team, and they beat Norfolk, they're sitting at 2-2 with a loss to Troy and Miami. And I think right now you just have to look at what Trey Oliver and North Carolina Central are doing, right? That big victory against A&T, big victory up in the Circle City Classic this past weekend against Norfolk. They are 1-0 in MEAC conference play and 3-2. And I believe it's how they look to be 3-2. Outside of that anomaly to that loss to Elon that just really baffled me on how they got blew out in that game. They played close with North Carolina early on in the first half, but of course, you start to see why North Carolina is Power 5. North Carolina Central with Walker Harris looks good. And right now, this is my top 5, ladies and gentlemen. Tennessee State, number 5. Jackson State, number 4. South Carolina State, the Bulldogs, number 3. FAMU Rattlers, number 2. And the Eagles of North Carolina Central flying high to the top of the list at number 1.